Looks okay.
I don't know. It's hard to tell until somebody starts to comment.
Yeah.
Nothing
I
rotated.
didn't tell you to rotate it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right, you guys. You guys are live here on the Brush by Brandy Facebook and YouTube channel. My name is Brandy, and I'm the owner and artist behind Brush by Brandy. And my husband Sean is here behind the camera to help us answer any questions. I think we are on YouTube with a horizontal angle tonight, so
Somebody throw me a
let
hater.
me know if anybody's
message.
watching on YouTube and it looks okay. We're still playing around with that. I've been playing with it this week to try to figure that out. So you guys, last week I actually started a project with you, and then I looked at the calendar and was like, holy cow. I leave at the end of August to go to the UK for the Painters Business Academy, September 1st through 3rd. There are still tickets available to that, you guys, at Painters Business Academy. If you guys are over in the UK, definitely check that out. It was a really great event last year. I'm super excited to go back again this year. But I looked at the calendar and was like, I have so many projects, and there's some new things coming out this month that I have to have projects lined up for. And because I'm leaving, what I do when I travel is I usually will work in advance so that when I'm gone, my pages don't go dead. I still put out content during that time, but that means that I have to line projects up for that time. And I'll be gone for 2.5 weeks. So basically 3 weeks of content I need to create beforehand, plus my orders, plus new releases coming out. So it meant me looking at my schedule and like my brain kind of exploded a little bit. So I've been binge working. And that meant the project that we started last week, I need to put it on the back burner, and we'll come back to it later. And we're going to actually do a project that I need to do versus one that I want to do.
So sorry, really quick. Linda, you made a comment that it's not good over on YouTube. Is it because the quality, or you need to rotate, or I should rotate? Just let me know. Yeah. Someone throw me a bone here.
What is not good on YouTube? Go ahead. Tell us what the angle looks like. Okay, so this project here that we're going to go ahead and start tonight, this is actually a custom order, and it's going to be a whole bedroom set that I'm doing for a nursery, for a new baby. This is a longtime customer of mine. She's super special. I mean, she's been with me for a long, long time, and I've done several pieces for her, and she's having a baby. And so I get to do her nursery set, which I'm super excited for. So she sent me pictures of her crib, which is a restoration hardware crib, pictures of her flooring that's in the room, which has kind of gray tones in it. So I sanded the top down on this piece. This is her furniture. It's made by Pulaski, which is really nice, well-made furniture.
Sideways. I gotta turn
it sideways.
All right.
I thought we could get away with it because I figured out how to get it to not pop up and tell me it has to be rotated, but apparently that doesn't work. All right, I will keep trying. I swear I've been trying different things. So this is made by Pulaski, and one thing I want to point out is that these tops I sanded down to the raw wood, and you can see here it's wood all the way through. Even this edge here and this raised portion is all solid wood. It's got a nice thick veneer on it. Now this is just pine, this underlayer here, but it still is solid wood. Sometimes you can sand these curved edges here and you'll find MDF underneath. And so when I find any kind of wood, even if it's just pine underneath, I'm always thrilled. So on the top, it does have a little more exotic of a grain, and we're going to stain that with a gray tone. The nursery colors are going to be white and gray, and it's going to have a theme. And I'll show you guys kind of what that is. It's bees. How cute is that? What a cute nursery that's going to be. So we're going to incorporate this design, and I've got a few different elements that I'm going to use. I'm going to incorporate the bees. I pulled out a whole bunch of bee-themed tools that I have in my toolbox. Can you, on the top of that tall dresser, grab me? There's a stamp up there. I'll show you guys what some of them are.
Pam is in Anchorage.
Oh,
again.
Yeah. Wait, yeah, you were just in Alaska too. So I'll show you guys a couple of the bee-themed products that I have that I plan to incorporate. Some things I had to order, so I don't have them on hand, but I will. So if you guys remember a couple weeks ago, I did a piece using polyonlay, which is, it's these kind of wood cutouts. And I still have some of these honeycomb shapes. I had to order more of the outlines of the honeycomb, and it has bees too. So I'm going to use some of these inlays here from polyonlay. Those are coming to me in the mail. This is 4 pieces in the set. So I needed enough to go around between the 4 pieces. I have this bee trellis stencil.
All right, I'm gonna get all up in your business for these guys. They're claiming it's blurry, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So bizarre. I just can't. I don't know. So this bee trellis stencil is from Royal Design Stencils. I've had this. This is actually the first stencil that I ever added to my collection. And I got it, one of my very, very first custom orders that I took almost 9 years ago, you guys. And she wanted this on the drawer sides, and so she brought the stencil to me, and then after it was done said I can keep it. It's from Royal Design Stencils. I still love their stencils, and this is one of the first stencils I ever added to my collection. I still have it, and I'm going to use it again. We're going to use it tonight. So that's another bee theme item I have. I have this stamp from Redesign with Prima called French Laurels. But do you guys see what's in the middle of it? There's a bee in there, so I think I'll stamp some of him around on my project. And then I've got a few transfers that have a bee hidden in them among flowers and stuff, so I'll probably cut a couple of those out, maybe a couple flower accents, and that's kind of what my plan is for this. But do you guys want to get started on the project?
I guess.
All right, so this is just one of the nightstands. I have another chest, a larger dresser, and a bookcase that are all going to be part of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is on the sides of these drawers, we are going to do a raised stencil, and it's going to be this bee trellis design that I just showed you. So what I've done on these so far, you guys can tell that I've sanded the tops down to bare wood. I went ahead and scuff sanded the body, and then I've got Wiesel primer on here. This is primer in white because my color scheme is I'm going to be painting in white and gray. So I chose white primer on this one. A light gray would have also worked. Light gray goes under white. I just had a lot of white primer, and so I thought this would be an opportunity when I could use up some of my white primer because I usually order the light gray, so I have more of that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I've already done the other side, but I'm going to find center on here because I want this design to kind of go down the center. And I'm going to also pay attention. I want to try to not cut their wings off, you know, over here on the edges. And then I'm going to bring it down just a little bit so I have enough room at the top for a piece of tape. And I'm going to tape this stencil. Now I'm not going to use stencil adhesive on this. I try not to unless I feel like I absolutely need it. For raised stenciling, I don't feel like it's as necessary. I usually use stencil adhesive when I'm doing something that's more likely to bleed under the stencil, and thicker mediums usually don't have a tendency to bleed. What I'm using here, I'm not going to show you the packaging because it's not in the right package. This is just a container that I'm using to store it in. This is just a joint compound, and it came from a larger container of joint compound. So please do not pay attention to this container. This is just an old spackling can that I had. I'm going to mix it up. I do store this in the refrigerator so that it won't dry out because if you guys have ever tried to store like joint compound or spackling around the house, it dries out pretty quickly. And I just fill this little container and I store it in the refrigerator. All right, and then I'm just going to use like a 2-inch plastic putty knife, and I'm going to go right over the top of this stencil. And this is a pretty easy one to do a raised stencil design on. I've already done all the sides of the other pieces. So this is my last piece that I want to use it on. I'm going to give it a nice thick layer because I want to have a nice pronounced stencil. And I'm just going to go down.
Who makes this stencil?
This is from Royal Design Stencils. I'll put a link to this up in the post.
Yeah, don't ask me to.
Yeah, my technical help is not much for helping me put links up during the live. And I've been putting them in the comments because I noticed that Facebook does throttle the reach of my lives when I put it in the description. So I've been putting it in the comments and hoping that helps them not kill. They don't like you going out to other websites. They want you to stay on Facebook for hours and hours, right? So if I put links in there, they throttle the reach of my lives, and then that makes me upset. So So I will throw links up for everything I use after we get off. And if you make a comment in here, I'll go ahead and respond to your comment too with those. Usually watch these back, although I don't think I watched last week's.
What?
I responded to comments, but I didn't go back and watch the whole thing. So I hope I don't know. Maybe that was a bad live. I don't know. Guess I should watch that. Okay, so I'm just scraping right over the top. I'm leaving a nice thick layer. This is actually a pretty thick stencil. I really like the quality of their stencils. Royal Design makes good stencils. I've got quite a collection from them now. I still go back and buy from them. They do good sales too. If you get on their mailing list, they'll run sales, you know, for like 30% off or free shipping or whatever. And I'll usually collect whenever I can during some of those deals. Oh, I did want to point out to you guys, I saw something, Redesign with Prima through your local retailers will be having I think it was 25% off this coming week. So if you guys have a local Redesign with Prima retailer, check them out. See if they're participating in the sales. That's only through the retailers though, so it's not online through my link. But go support your retailers and see if they have discounted products this week. That would be kind of cool. Okay, so I just went over all of it. This is a pretty quick stencil to do the raised design on. And so let's pull this away. It's my favorite part. Ta-da! How cute is that? So it's really subtle, and that's all she wanted, is just a really subtle raised texture on the sides of the pieces. Now, if you wash this while it's still wet, it washes away really easily. You do not want to wash joint compound down your sink, so I do take this outside and I just hose it off while it's still fresh, and then it's super easy to wash. Let's see, I have 3 pieces, so total of 6 sides that I've done with that today, and I was able to do about 3 placements, and then I needed to wash it each time. So plan on, 2 or 3 placements you get on a raised stencil, and then the stencil starts getting a little muddy and you have to go wash it. All right, so let me show you this other side. This side is already dry. And what I did over here is I just put a coat of my primer back over the top of my raised stencil so that I can paint it, because that joint compound will reactivate when you go to paint it. And so with a coat of the primer over the top, you can also just spray it with shellac. But that will protect that joint compound from reactivating when I go to put paint over top, and it's just going to be pretty close to what you see here because I'm using white and gray as my color combination.
So really quick, just an unrelated question to that. What is good for, if you paint a jewelry box and then put a transfer over it, what is a good sealer?
I've been using Wiesel matte varnish. I love the sheen of it. It's a really low sheen. I'm not big on super shiny pieces. Satin is like the most sheen I usually give my pieces, but I really like their matte varnish. It brushes on nicely, it sponges on nicely. But I do 2 coats of that. I'll be honest, I usually spray my clear coats because I love the finish of a sprayed clear coat, and I do usually spray my jewelry boxes. Sean's looking at my floor.
What's going on over here?
That's where I cleaned my stencil earlier.
That's where you cleaned
so
it?
It has this
How about
design
you clean the
on
floor?
the stencil. I just wiped it down and it wiped some of the joint compound onto my floor.
Oh,
so,
interesting, because it looks just like you stenciled the floor.
I basically stenciled my floor earlier.
Good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the colors that I'm going to use on this, I'm going to use white and gray. That's almost gone, so I'm going to open a new can. And let me show you, when I was looking at, this is my color rings of whites and grays in the Wiesel line. And they have a really nice selection of whites. I actually chose this guy here, which is called Cashmere, because it's a white that has some very light gray undertones. And then I'm going to use a gray with it. I'm leaning towards smoky quartz. So this would be my color combination here. I did bring out some other grays in case I want to, gray linen has a little more browns in it than smoky quartz. So I think that's a little too warm. And I did bring out, brought out Weather Vane too. And I think Weather Vane's going to be a little dark. That's Weather Vane there, but I might use it just on some of the edges. I don't know that I want to go that dark though. This is for it's for a baby nursery, so I want to keep it kind of light and airy. So So I'm going to open up my smoky quartz, and then I needed to open up a new can of cashmere because I just used all this on a project. Let me pop these little clips off. Okay, so cashmere is going to be my main body color, and then I'm just going to do a very soft blend of the grays around the outer edges. I think it's going to be really light and feminine. And then when we throw those bees on there, they'll really pop against the background. So this ends up being my color combination right
Where
here.
did you get the bee cutouts? Or the bee cutouts, the owl cutouts? For your paint?
Oh, sorry. I was like, what do you mean owls? We're using bees tonight. Bees,
That's why I slipped.
Pay attention, people. These guys here are my paint samples, and I got these from the Salty Lick Mercantile. Salty Lick Mercantile. They are actually a Wiesel paint retailer, but they also do like laser cut work in their shop. So Salty Lick Mercantile online, they sell the blanks and they make them for the whole Wiesel paint line. So I have color samples, and then I painted them at home with each of the colors. Now what you can do is if you get a set of blanks like this, and then each time you get a color or add a color to your collection, you just paint a blank until you end up with a collection of the entire paint line. It's hugely helpful to have, especially if you've got a paint line that you use religiously, to have the color samples on hand. So you can see against that pure white background how that cashmere has a little bit of undertones. It's not quite a pure white, but I actually really like that. I think it's going to lend a softness. It's got a little bit of an antique look to it. This piece has a little bit of a wood grain to it, wood grain texture. And so I just brushed it horizontally and vertically so that I make sure and I fill that wood grain, and I also fill all the area around my stencil. And I'm just going to kind of frame out a space in the center. And then around that, let's try the smoky quartz and see how these two look together. Yeah, I think that's my gray. And I'm going to brush this around. Now I don't want to overpower that white, so I am going to blend these together, and I'm just doing that by brushing the smoky quartz into that cashmere. First I'm going to concentrate on getting my paint laid on around the edges, and then I'll come start working my two colors together a little bit more.
That brush that you're using?
This is the Klingon S50 brush. It's let me show you a clean one. It's this guy here, and it's become my most used brush, and I have the entire Klingon line, and this is the one that I keep coming back to. I like how it fits in my hand. I like a shorter brush. I like that the bristles I can either lay on a nice smooth coat with them, but I can also use it for blending. So I use it for both, and so it's really become kind of a universal brush for me. I just have a whole bunch of them. I probably have 12 of them, and that works for me because you guys know I do a lot of multicolor finishes. I usually use a brush for each color, and then a dry neutral brush. So on some pieces, I usually will have 4 or 5 brushes out. So by having a set of like 12 brushes or so, that gives me some for when they're being washed, anything like that. All right, so I've got my paint laid on, but I really need to soften this up. I'm going to lay a little bit of water onto this, not much. And I'll be honest with you, I was blending a piece last night, and I was thinking to myself, you guys see me use water on camera, and it's usually because I'm on talking at the same time. But when I was just blending by myself and not talking, I actually didn't use hardly any water. That's because I can do it while the paint's still fresh, but while I'm on here talking, everything takes me longer. So that's something to be aware of. When I was just painting, on my own and didn't have that time lag of the talking, I actually didn't use much water at all and was able to just blend while my paint was fresh. So that was kind of a new concept for me. All right, so I've kind of blended this out, but I wanted to show you guys this brush. This is from Redesign with Prima, and I like this brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work some swirls into my brush stroke. So I'm doing small swirls, and I'm going to work them out in kind of a circular pattern. So it would look like a coil or like a snail shell is kind of the design that I'm going. And I'm going to do this all the way from the center outwards. And this is just kind of smoke up that blend a little bit. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to go back in the other way. And this is going to pull my colors into each other. Kind of gives me this like smoky look. Now this is just my first coat. So I just want to get my colors laid on. And I'm going to show you with this brush too. I can also use the S50 for this. Whoops, got a piece of hair in there. Okay, so that's more or less the color combo that I'm going for. This is my first coat, so I don't have perfect coverage, but my second coat will definitely give me that coverage that I need. And then down here on the bottom, I'm just going to go into the solid gray. And this might be where I get into that dark gray with the weather vein. Maybe I'll try a little bit of it just onto the base. I like dark legs. It just kind of grounds the piece. I think I might pull that out and try a little bit of it just on the legs. I don't know. I don't want it to get too dark though. When I get close to finishing this piece, I'll add some glazes and maybe some dry brushing. Actually, not maybe, definitely some dry brushing onto all these details, because I have on the larger piece I have great molded detail up here at the top, and then also these have great feet on them, so I really want to bring that out. So if I dry brush some white over the top, all right, let's try that weather vein. I think it might be a little dark, I'm just not sure on it. But this is my base coat, so this is where I can play around with colors and see what I like and what I don't like. And then if it looks too dark, I can always just put the gray linen over it in my next coat. So I'm just kind of using a stippling motion, which is just kind of a tapping of my brush just to dig it into some of these details. I can't see on that side, so I'm going to assume that I don't know, that's kind of pretty. Kind of like the dark leg. Okay, let's try this one. I've got this piece up on a furniture dolly, and I will turn it every which way, including onto its back at some point, to make sure that I get up underneath the underside so that there's not any of this white showing or any wood showing.
Pam says she can't go to sleep now. You're fun to watch. So if a passenger suffer tonight, it's your fault.
Oh, Pam, thank you. That was totally guilt-free. Thank you. Please don't let any accidents happen on your plane. Speaking of which, I went to Sarasota a couple weeks ago. Oh, well, first of all, I want to thank you, Pam, for your standards being low enough to call me entertaining. I appreciate that. Yeah, wake up. Sean's asleep over here. I went to Sarasota a couple weeks ago, and I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about this trip because I haven't said a whole lot about it, and there's a reason. It was a really rough trip. My son raced in the youth nationals for rowing, so the U.S. rowing youth nationals, and a lot of you guys have messaged me and asked me to talk about it, to say you guys wanted to know how he placed, and I super appreciate that. Add a little more white into the center of this. I might even add a purer white to the center, like snow owl. So I might go a little lighter on the white, clean that up a little bit. I don't want it to get too antique looking. I still want to have some pure white. So that's one thing I'm noticing already as I get into this coat. So you guys have asked me how he did, and I do want to share that, and then I'll tell you guys why I haven't said a whole lot about the trip also. So his team, he raced in the U17 because he's only 15, men's 4, and they placed 10th in the nation, which is outstanding. It was amazing to watch. I was super proud of him. The other boys team that we brought, which was a pair of high school seniors, they placed 4th in the nation. So super proud of our boys. And it was a rough trip. And I learned a lot came to light about coaching, and when you do sports on a national level, the different attitudes that come towards the kids. It was really, I don't know. So I did have a lot of meetings once we got home, and we talked about it, and so I'm optimistic that there will be some changes, but that's kind of why I haven't brought up a lot about that trip, was just because it was rough. I wish it was a better trip, but I'm super proud of the boys, and I don't want that to overshadow that they did amazingly well, all things considered. So that's kind of where I'm on that, and I appreciate everybody that supported them and asked me about it, and that was why I just haven't said anything. He's still gonna row. We're still gonna do it, and we're just I had some meetings, and I think there will be some changes made, and yeah. So that was kind of what happened with that. So, but what I was gonna say is, on the way to Sarasota, where the event was, we had a medical emergency on our flight, Pam. So I've never had this happen, but all of a sudden it was a red eye. So overnight flight, all the lights on the plane come on, and they make an announcement over the loudspeaker for any medical personnel on board to come to the front of the plane. So right away, that's a good sign, right? And it's the middle of the night. We were in the back of the plane. That's how I roll. Those are the seats I pay for. And people just were rushing around. Anyone who was a medical
Sorry, do you want us to come to California and beat up some coaches?
Not yet. I'll let you know. Stay posted.
I think we've got that.
Yeah, no, we took care of it. I feel good about where it is right now, and I just now it's just kind of a wait and see. We got good response from our team on it, and so yeah, that's kind of where I have to leave it for right now. It's just kind of a wait and see, right?
Oh, Yvonne, if it was only overbearing.
Yeah, it was. I learned a lot. There's definitely another level when kids get competitive on that level. I don't know. Wasn't expecting it, and yeah, I mean, and then when you have 6 days of travel, it's stressful, and everybody handles stress differently. So yeah, I think it'll be okay. I didn't know how to address it and how to celebrate at the same time, recognizing that it was a struggle. It was a hard trip. The boys did great. They did great. All things considered, like that they had to deal with, they did phenomenal. I'm super proud of our boys. Okay, so for
alcoholic coach. Tipping them back.
I don't think that's it. For the front of this piece, it's a fairly small piece, so I'm going to kind of do my blend the same as I did the side with a highlight in the middle. The other choice would be to do each drawer individually, but because this is such a small piece, I think that would look a little busy. So I'm going to unify these and just make my highlight the entire front of the piece. So that's something to consider, is how you want to blend your colors. And like I said, I think I am going to incorporate a lighter white on my next coat, just to the very center of this. Just because these two colors together, the cashmere starts getting a little darker than I want my white to be. I definitely want to use it, but I think I'm going to put something lighter in the center too.
Donna, I almost, so Donna's the one that brought that up, and she said she had one of those once, and yeah, I did too for track, and I always thought it was kind of funny to, as a kid, to sit there when you know what the heck's going on, and they try to hide what's...
And kids are super aware. Like, it's so funny how much the kids picked up on. I'll say this, the boys leaned into each other, and they used their team to, and that's exactly what they're supposed to do. So they leaned into each other, and they made the best of it, and they really, I'm super proud of the boys. So that's what I didn't want to get lost in the message. And that I'm proud of our... I'm proud of our team for being able to listen and want to make the changes that need to happen. So, that is a good thing. I'm feeling optimistic and feeling good about it. But that was why I just was kind of quiet when we got back, because I was like, I don't know where this is going to go. I needed to hear what was said in meetings, and how those would go over. You know, you're either going to get told, yes, we want to improve, or like, too bad, so sad.
Kick rocks.
Take it or leave it. Yeah. So I wasn't sure how I wanted to handle it until I did that all last week. So we had one day where we spent 6 hours in meetings last week just talking about kids sports. That's a little crazy, huh? Okay, so no, I went the medical emergency on the flight though. They woke us up in the middle of the night. I was flying with my son, so we couldn't sleep. So we got no sleep on the way there. That probably didn't help either. And everybody who was a professional, I don't know what kind of professional, they might have been like a veterinarian, I don't know. And they all rushed to the front of the plane. And then for hours, they were just rushing back and forth. Like, you could tell that the medical professionals were grabbing stuff out of their bags, whatever supplies they needed. And for the rest of the flight, they didn't make us land. I don't know what kind of emergency it was, but when we got to the airport, the fire trucks had surrounded the plane, and the more medical professionals came on board, and they actually were treating the person on board the plane, so they didn't deplane them, and so we all deplaned while it was going on. So that was crazy. Never had that happen before. That made me think of you, Pam. Like, I'm sure you've dealt with that before. That was a whole new experience for me. All right, this is my brush for my cashmere. I just surrounded the cashmere in the smoky quartz. Yeah. I'm adding a little bit of water. Like I said, though, I did notice when I was just painting and not talking, I didn't need to use water. I blended a whole piece last night, and I used nearly no water on it. So I feel like this, with this paint, I definitely used less water than what I used to use. And definitely with talking, everything takes me longer. Like, I could have done this.
Oh, amen. I mean, sorry. Carry on.
What I'm saying is so interesting. You can't wait to hear more.
When do I ever say, tell me more?
Really? Tell me more. Yeah. This is fascinating.
My therapist loves you.
Yeah. You were saying? Yeah, my paint's already dry. I do also have my AC on out here. This is my garage workspace, but it does have climate control out here.
I don't know whose climate, but yeah.
All right, and then I'm going to wet this, and I'm going to go ahead and swirl this out. So I'm just kind of creating more brush strokes in here, but with a pattern in them. And I start at the center, and I'm working my way out to the outside. This pulls my colors into each other a little bit.
Donna, I had someone try to die in front of me on a flight.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was my fear at first. I was like, okay.
They're not even good at it.
Is somebody dead on this flight already? But they did survive. I was relieved to see them still being treated like when we landed. And they didn't, we didn't divert to another airport or anything. So that was good news, right? But, I mean, it's nerve-wracking when you're on the flight and you don't know what's going on. Like, did somebody just die on the flight? Are we good? Or what? They don't tell you anything. Another thing was, man, my son made it home with his team the night after the competition.
As scheduled.
As scheduled. He got on his flight was okay, but the kids were split between multiple flights, the team, and 28 kids got stuck. Their flight didn't go out on time. They missed their connection. So they got stuck in Atlanta overnight in one of the airport hotels, which I guess are not very nice places from what I hear. The hotels that the airports are generous enough to put you up in for the night are not the most desirable hotels. Is that true? Does anyone have experience with that? Anyway, from what the kids say, it was not a nice place. My son was home, thankfully. But they were stuck there. And then they had to check out the next morning and sit at the airport for 9 hours to try to get on another flight. 28 kids.
What would you rather do?
Yeah. Like, I'm so glad he made it on his flight and that flight went out on time. Because, I mean, those poor kids. And one coach had come home with my son. The program director came home with my son. So there were 2 coaches left behind with 28 kids. I was like, ooh. Now they're all like high schoolers. It's not like they're 8-year-olds. Because if they were, then I don't know. I probably would have just quit my job on site if I was one of them. All right, and then over here we'll try that dark leg again. I might have to just scope this out. I'm already definitely feeling like my white is not as bright as I want it to be. So that'll be.
How'd that happen, I wonder?
What?
Did you cut the zip tie? Or maybe, no, that's not you?
I don't know.
Oh.
What was it for?
And so when you put it in your pocket, you can reach for it because it's got a zip tie on it.
That's not a problem for me.
That's
No,
why
I
figured
didn't.
you
I
cut
didn't
it.
do it deliberately. If I did, I don't know.
I can't even talk to you right now.
Yeah. Or ever again.
Yeah.
All right, so this is weather vane, and I do kind of like the dark leg. I think if I dry brush some white over this, it's really going to stand out. And if I brighten up that white a little bit, I'll have really nice contrast on here. I can't paint this other side because I just did that stencil when we first started out on camera. So I'll let that stencil dry, and then I'll spray over the top of it, either shellac or, you know, I'll put primer over the top of it just to create a barrier. And then I can paint this one other side too. Okay. So yeah, I think that's my only hesitation is I want a brighter white. So I think what I'm going to do is put a brighter white, move that cashmere out around the edges, and then my gray will move out a little bit more. But I can do that all in a second coat. And even though the colors might be slightly off, you'll never notice if I just move those colors a little bit in my second coat. So that's the kind of decisions that I make. I'll just bring in a pure white into the center of this, like Snow Owl. Yeah, it'll probably be Snow Owl. Like a nice bright white in the center a little bit is what I'm thinking. And then I'll swirl that in the same way. What do you guys think? This will be cute though, huh? I like the bees with the color, the gray and the white color scheme. This will be really pretty. And then I'll have a couple flowers just here and there. Nothing loud, but either a pink or a yellow, just some soft pastels for a little baby girl's room. I think it's gonna be really pretty. I did get some paint up here onto my edge. That's okay because it's not final sanded. So I will just come back and sand that paint off the edge right before I go. And I'm going to do a kind of a gray stain on the top of this. All right. So I'm going to let this dry, and I do have some videos coming out on my YouTube channel. I might do 2 videos this week because I have a couple pieces to put out. So if you guys aren't already subscribed, go check out my YouTube channel. I do a weekly edited tutorial over there along with my weekly live video. So there's something, the live videos are just a little more in depth on the techniques. And then the edited tutorials are just the quick steps. You don't get as in depth. So there's something depending on what kind of learning you guys like. There should be something over there for everybody. So yeah, check out my YouTube channel. Again, check out the Painters Business Academy, September 1st through 3rd, just outside London. I'll be there. My whole family's going to be there. I'll be there with Jonathan Mark Mendez. Amy Sloan will be there. Kasha will be there. There's going to be live painting. There's also business topics that we do. There's a panel discussion. I mean, it was a really well done show last year. That's why I'm super excited to do it again this year. I will let you guys go. Everybody have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July, everyone. We won't be back.
If you're stateside. Yeah.
It's just talking about the UK, but happy 4th of July. You guys enjoy your holiday. Have a great time.
Yeah, I guess if you're in the UK, that's kind of a pain, right? That's
yeah.
me being a joker.
Yeah, don't celebrate.
Right?
Do you celebrate 4th of July in the UK?
No,
they do
because
anything?
we separated from them.
Yeah, but maybe they're happy about that.
I don't know.
You know, sometimes when you get a divorce,
This was the golden
and
territory.
like, that was a good choice to get that divorce. Maybe they're like, we should celebrate that those people are gone.
Oh, I got to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Is it a good thing or not?
I mean, I don't have to think about that. Yeah.
I think we'll be out on our boat. I think we might take our boat out for 4th of July. Fireworks are illegal in our county, so we can't do fireworks. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
I should make some.
We live kind of remotely. There's a lot of dry grass around here. I'm not complaining that they're illegal. I'd really rather my house didn't catch on fire. All right, you guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys next week.